Hey class, so today is Tuesday, January 12th. We're going to be looking at functions pretty much the rest of this week. And today we're going to look at sketching graphs. Now yesterday we looked at interpreting graphs, and then today we're going to focus a little bit more on sketching them. That being said, let's first look at yesterday's homework, that last page, page 176, because you actually sketch a graph there.
Okay, my turn.
So here we go. So on this first question, we have this chart, and for any of these kind of problems, you want to first look and see what is happening along your x-axis and what is happening along your y-axis. What is your units here? What are you measuring? And what are your units here? What are you measuring here? So we can see that this is time and that this is the number of bacteria. So here in phase one, as time goes along, there's just a little bit of bacteria. But then all of a sudden, whoa, the bacteria increases. And that's going to be a key word for us, increases. And then it kind of tapers off and gets a little level. And then in phase four, it starts to decrease. Okay, increase is when it goes up, when there's more numbers. Decrease is when the numbers start to go down. So what is happening to the population during phase two? We can see the number of microbes is increasing. So it's increasing rapidly. Or you could say quickly. That's what's happening to the population. That's just a fancy word saying how many microbes are there or how much bacteria. What is happening to the population or the bacteria during phase four? Well, it's decreasing. It's starting to decrease. Okay, that's all you got to put for those. Now we're going to look at these three graphs. For this next problem, it talks about three different speeds of snowmobiles. And again, you can see down here is time, and our y-axis up here is measuring speed in miles per hour. So we can see that even though it doesn't tell us the time, as the time clicks on, as the minutes move on, for the graph one, you're increasing the speed. The speed's getting bigger. Then all of a sudden you stay at a steady speed. So this is constant. You don't have to write that, but I'm just writing this to remind us. And right here, the speed is increasing. Okay. Now for graph number two, it looks like it increased and then it decreased. And then right here was a time when there is no speed. Well, if there is no speed, that means the speed is zero. That means there was no speed, right? And then after that, it increased again. For graph number three, it goes strictly from increasing to decreasing or slowing down. Okay? So now it's going to ask us here, so which one of these graphs represents this? Chip begins his ride slowly, but then he stops. Okay, but then he stops. Which one of these has a stop in it? Well, if you stop, that means your speed is zero, right? So it's got to be graph two. You can see right here, that's the only one that has a zero speed after the initial startup. This one says this speed steadily increases, so it's going up. All of these start off by going up. Then she slows down. Okay, well, this one just increases and then it's constant. This one increases and then it slows down. So that has to be graph three. Okay, on this one, Pueblo's diving, and we're going to draw a sketch of it. So he's at the diving board. You can see this is your height, and this is supposed to be your water line. And this down here is distance from the pool, distance from the edge. So obviously he's going to start here at the edge, and this is going into the pool. That's your x. And your y is your height, either above or below the water. So he's here in a diving board. Let's draw a little diving board. And he walks to the end of it. Then he jumps off. Maybe he goes up a little bit and then goes splash into the water. And it says at first he swims under the water, but then he goes up and then swims on the top. So it could look something like that. The main thing is you start up above the water because he's diving off a diving board. Then he goes under the water, and he goes back up to the surface of the water to get air. We don't want to leave him without it.
So what I believe you were trying to say is thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Key question for today is going to be this. How do I create a graph given a description or a scenario? How do I graph something, and how is that going to help me? Really, that should be the other question. How is that going to help me? So we're going to look at a few vocabulary words to help us with this. First, we're going to look at increase. If you hear that word increase, that means something's going up. Something's getting faster, or something's becoming more, or something's going further up in the sky or further away. So that's increase. Populations increase. And on a graph, it's going to look just like that. On the graph, it's going to go up as well. And the next thing is, well, decrease. Decrease means it's going to be going down. So if you're decreasing on a graph, it's going to be going back down to your x-axis. And constant means no change. Constant is going to be just straight across. It's not increasing, it's not decreasing in the height. It's going to go straight across. And then sometimes, it's really often true, if you don't see anything on your graph, like all of a sudden the line just stops, or it goes down to the x-axis, that means zero. That means whatever you're measuring is zero. Like if we were looking at population of chickens, and all of a sudden they all died. Oh, sad. Well, then that would go all the way back down, and you wouldn't have a line anymore. Okay, so we are going to look at reading graphs. But first, I want to point out one key thing you always need to remember. Always remember to read the units. So over here, we can see that we have units, time, and then a units of students. So down here, that's time in weeks, and that's our x-axis. And in here is students, that's the number of students. But it doesn't give us any numbers here. It doesn't matter. We're just looking at the general pattern. So reading the units is very important. You're going to ask yourself, what does the x-axis measure? What should it measure? And remember, x-axis is back and forth. What does the y-axis measure? Remember, y-axis is up and down, okay? So just wanted to give you that quick little reminder. So now let's actually look at it. Let's go ahead and look at, in your Go Math page, what page is that? That's page 175. Okay, this is the page that you skipped yesterday for the homework, page 175. So if we're going to sketch that, let's first figure out, what do these mean? So you're going to, anytime you're doing a word problem, I would highly recommend always underline any kind of number or a word that is going to be key for your problem. So underlining numbers is very important. Now you see this every day. That could be important, but we don't know yet. No one comes, so 1, that's a number. No one means 0, right? To the tutoring session during the first week. Okay, so are we going to be talking about the first week or every day? Well, we look down here and this helps us. The time is given in weeks, so we can just ignore this every day, and this first week is going to help us. So on the first week, no one comes. So we're not even going to draw anything. That first week, it's just, there's no line. It's down here at the x-axis. Over the next 2 weeks, so 2 weeks, the tutoring increases. There's that key word, increases. Okay, so here we're going to sketch a graph for the number of students who are using the tutoring service over the first 3 weeks of school. So the first week, it's nothing. Then it gradually increases. So it could look something like this. It's gradually increasing, okay? And that's number of students. Maybe you went from 0 to, and really, because you don't have like half of a student, let me go back on that. It's going to kind of be a little more choppy. So it's going to look something more like this. Let me pick a better color. Here we go. So you're going to get no students, but then all of a sudden, it pops up, and then maybe it pops up again. It's going to look like stair steps, right? because you're not going to have just half of a student come in. Okay, if Miss Sutton's students are told that they're going to have a math test at the end of the 5th week, oh, another keyword. How do you think that will affect the number of students coming to tutoring? Well, especially if she gives out candy or offers bonus points, I bet she'll have more people come. And so it's going to increase even more right before the test. And then what if after the 6th week of school, that's going to be after the test, people might start decreasing. And that's what you're going to graph down here. Let me go ahead and scroll that up. So now for this one, it's going to look the same as before, except you start off with nothing, and then it's increasing, probably up to the day of the test, and then after the test, it might shoot back down to only a few students again. Okay? If she offers bonus credit, that might cause even more students to come. So you just got to think about it in terms of what's going to be happening on the graph. Don't worry so much about how high up it goes. Some of you might be going really high. Some of you just might be going a little bit. The main key things is if it's increasing, you want it to go up. If it's decreasing, you want it to go down. And if it's 0, you're not going to be going up at all. And if it's constant, it's going to stay at this like a horizontal line. All right. So that's pretty much it for today. Go ahead and do pages 177 and 178, except the last 2 questions, 15 and 16. You don't have to do those. Have a good day. Bye.